Good morning, brand DIYers. It is Mark here. It is a beautiful Friday morning. And yes, it is Friday morning, and I'm so excited. Had a big week, lots of exciting stuff going on. Gonna have an exciting day today. And then it's the weekend, and the sun is shining. And what's not to like about that? Let me finish off the week with a quick little thought starter. This is a very, very hot topic as far as I've been involved in building brands. It has probably been one of the hottest topics that is always up for discussion. And people never get tired of thinking about it, playing with the idea in their heads, and fortunate slash unfortunate few acting on it. I am talking about, of course, rebranding. And the topic of today is why rebrand? You really think you need to rebrand? I've got a few arguments why you should not rebrand. So, first of all, let's talk about why brand managers or brands in general think that they need to rebrand. And there's some really good ones. I want to start with a couple of really good ones. One really good one is that you have outgrown your current brand. That is, you are doing things that your current brand wasn't set up to do. And a wonderful example of that is the Unmediocre store. One of our brand DIYers runs a store in Port Moody, and they're about to scale up and start running more stores. And their previous brand, the Port Moody Refillery, no longer actually applied to what they were doing now. So if you are selling paint and you used to sell buckets, well, you might want to rebrand away from the bucket store and become the paint store. That's a very good reason for rebranding right there. Is if your brand has evolved beyond. Another great reason is if your brand has pivoted. You used to do one thing and now you do a completely different thing, or you have bought another company and that has forced you to change directions. So these are all really, really valid arguments, and they're all around the idea of what you used to stand for, you no longer stand for. And I think those are perfectly legitimate reasons for rebranding. However, for every reason for rebranding, there are 100 reasons why people should not rebrand. And a lot of people pick up reasons like we're making less money. Or there's somebody out there who is making more money and it looks like they're going to be taking money out of our pocket and sticking it in their pocket. Or, and this is the most popular one that I've always hear again and again and again, I'm a brand new brand manager or a person in charge of marketing, and I want to put my own personal signature on this brand. And this is a little bit like a new dog on the block going to pee on the fire hydrant to show that he owns that fire hydrant. And you would be surprised how often this actually happens, that a rebrand is engaged in, or a dramatic alteration of the brand is engaged in, because the new person says, well, I want to leave my signature on it. So, what you have to consider in rebranding is that a rebrand is a little bit like a personal makeover. Now, there can be brand tweaks and brand ooches and brand modifications, and those are a bit like making yourself a little more interesting. You know, shaving, getting a haircut, getting some fresh clothes, maybe working out, learning Spanish or guitar or Spanish guitar. Now, those are not rebrands. Those are brand enhancements. That could be the equivalent of brightening up the colors on your brand, or changing the way that you answer the phone call, or getting a new stationery package, if anybody uses stationery anymore, or getting your website redone so it looks a little sharper, it loads a little quicker, and the pictures are a little more up to date. All for that. Terrific. However, if you are contemplating a complete rebrand, that is kind of like throwing away the old stuff and getting a whole bunch of new stuff because you're just, well, bored, or you think you're losing money, or God only knows what. That's a little extreme for a makeover. That's like Don Draper in Mad Men. I'm not sure if you saw the show, but his story was he was in the Korean War and he adopted the persona of a guy who died. And he became this guy. And that's one of the big secrets of the show. And that is a pretty dramatic makeover. That's becoming somebody else. And as you know from Mad Men, it doesn't always pay. It gets messy. You get caught in a web of lies. You get a lot of personal conflict. And a lot of times it backfires. So I have got a whole bunch of reasons here why you shouldn't rebrand. So if you are contemplating a rebrand, and it doesn't fit under the category that I described right at the very beginning, where you have been bought by another company or you're buying another company and that's forcing you to change direction or change what you do, or you find that your old brand has been outgrown. It's like your clothes, your pants are too short now and you need to you need to have new pants. Or you're pivoting, you're changing direction. Those are all perfectly legitimate reasons for rebranding. Now let me give you some reasons why you should not rebrand. First reason, you don't know why you're changing. Or you say you know why you're changing, but when anybody grills you on it, your answers start talking around in circles and using big jargon and acronyms and fancy marketing language, which means that you don't really know what you're talking about. And you're trying to cover that up with fancy language. So you don't really know why you're changing, or you're guessing at why you're changing. Now, this is related to another reason. Your strategy for improving is superficial, it's wrong, it's badly thought through, or it's incomplete. Imagine you say, we need to rebrand because our brand is no longer relevant and we are making less money. Huh, is that the brand? Or is that because you've been stocking it in the same supermarket shelf in the same bottle with the same icon out front of it and making exactly the same pitch for the last 30 years? I don't know. Maybe it's time for a refresh, not a rebrand. So if you're looking at things like we're not making as much money or we're no longer as relevant, that might not be solved with a rebrand. That might be solved with a refresh. A couple of things that you need to look at and do different. Okay. Another reason for not rebranding, if you rebrand, you confuse people. Duh. Think sales are slipping now? Wait until you come out with a new name, a new logo, new colors, a new bottle, a new everything, a new place in the supermarket. You think sales are hurting now? Wait until you do that. You're going to be in a whole world of pain. You're going back to square one or worse. Another reason, if you rebrand, you confuse. That's what happens. People look at you and you go, huh, didn't they used to be brand ABC, now they're brand DEF? Why are they doing that? So not only are people confused, but they're looking at you going, what have you got to hide? What's going wrong? Did you murder somebody? What happened? Why are you suddenly leaving town and becoming somebody else? Think about it. You're changing too late. Another reason not to rebrand. So it's a little bit like saying that you're going to be a better husband and you're going to change your ways while the divorce papers are being filed. There's a long line of brands that have gone on to change 10 years after they should have changed. So, we talk about new brand managers coming in wanting to put their stamp on the brand. There's the opposite situation where there's an old brand manager and they just want to milk this brand and drive it into the ditch. And then at the last minute, they get told they have to resuscitate the brand. So they try to pull it out of the ditch. But by then, the damage has been done. Everybody knows that you're crappy, and sticking a new logo on is not going to save you. Finally, change is meaningless. A great reason to not change a brand, because at the core of it, a brand is a product or a service or a company. There are things to consider like legitimacy. Is your company legitimately a good provider of that product or service? Is that product or service relevant to what a consumer needs? Is that product or service different from what other people are offering in the market? Think really hard about that. And if those questions can't be answered to the affirmative, then changing your brand is going to make no difference at all. It'll be like turning a sow's, what do they say, turning a sow's purse into a sow's ear into a silk purse. It is going to be taking something that's crappy and putting a new paint coat on it, and it's still going to be crappy underneath, and everybody knows that it's going to be crappy. So there you go. I have got a list of brands that I have worked on, some that should have changed, some that shouldn't have changed. I would be happy to talk to you about that brand list. If you have a brand that you are contemplating changing, I would highly recommend you reach out and give me a holler. I'd love to talk to you about it. So I am not suggesting that a brand should never change, that a rebrand should never happen. I have done plenty of those. However, for every one brand that should change, there are 10 brands that are changing for completely the wrong reasons. And that's all I'll say about that. I hope you have yourselves a terrific weekend, and I will talk to you next week. And I will be introducing a new segment on the show next week. So not only will we have experts on, we're going to have a book review, but we're going to have something new. Also, make sure to check out branddiy.com, the new website, with all the goodies that you need building your own brand. Talk to you soon.